Are you eating what you believe is healthy, but your weight won't budge? Maybe you've cut calories. Maybe you've tried fasting. Maybe you've even cleaned up your diet, less sugar, fewer processed foods, and yet the scale barely moves, your energy dips, and your digestion feels off. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Fat loss is not just about calories. It's about signals, hormonal signals, gut signals, and metabolic signals that tell your body whether to store fat or burn it efficiently. And one of the most overlooked root causes of stubborn fat gain is something most people completely ignore: the health of your gut bacteria and how it communicates with your metabolism. Because when your gut is inflamed or imbalanced, your body shifts into a protective mode. Insulin rises more easily. Fat burning slows down. Cravings increase, and your metabolism becomes inefficient even if you're doing everything right. Now, here's the surprising part. There is a simple, traditional Japanese food, something eaten for centuries, that has been shown to improve gut bacteria diversity, lower insulin spikes, reduce fat storage signals, and support metabolic flexibility. And when eaten at the right time, especially in the morning, it can literally shift your body out of fat storing mode and back into fat burning mode. In this video, I'm going to break down exactly how this works, step by step, like we're at a whiteboard together. And more importantly, how to use it correctly, because timing, preparation, and consistency matter. If you're serious about fixing your metabolism at the root, not just masking symptoms, you're going to want to understand this. And if this kind of science-based, practical breakdown is helpful for you, consider subscribing. I post content like this every day to help you take control of your health naturally. Let's start by outlining the 6 key insights you need to understand. Let's begin with the hidden metabolic organ most people never think about: your gut microbiome. Inside your digestive tract live trillions of microorganisms, bacteria, fungi, and microbes that act almost like a second brain and a second metabolic control center. And here's what most people don't realize: these microbes are not passive passengers. They are actively deciding how your body responds to food. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Imagine your metabolism is like a large factory. Food comes in as raw material. Hormones act like managers. And your gut bacteria? They are the workers deciding what gets done with those materials. Do we burn energy? Do we store fat? Do we trigger cravings? Do we calm inflammation? That decision is heavily influenced by your microbiome. When your gut is populated with beneficial bacteria, they help regulate insulin sensitivity, reduce inflammation, improve digestion, and support fat oxidation. But when harmful bacteria dominate, usually from processed foods, frequent snacking, antibiotics, sugar overload, and chronic stress, everything changes. You begin producing more inflammatory compounds. Your gut lining becomes more permeable, what many call leaky gut. This allows inflammatory molecules like endotoxins to enter circulation. And now your immune system becomes chronically activated. Why does this matter for fat loss? Because inflammation makes your cells more resistant to insulin. And insulin resistance is one of the fastest ways to shut down fat burning. Think of insulin like a storage hormone switch. When insulin is elevated, your body is essentially being told, do not burn stored fat, store incoming energy instead. So even if you're eating less, if insulin stays elevated because inflammation is high, fat loss becomes much harder. What the research shows is fascinating. Studies have repeatedly found that individuals with greater gut microbial diversity tend to have better metabolic health, healthier body composition, and improved insulin regulation. Meanwhile, reduced microbial diversity is strongly associated with obesity and metabolic dysfunction. This means your fat loss problem may not just be about what you're eating. It may be about what's living inside you. And this is where traditional food cultures had something very right. Japanese dietary patterns have long emphasized fermented foods, fiber-rich ingredients, sea vegetables, and microbiome-supportive compounds. Not trendy, not complicated, just metabolically intelligent. And one food in particular stands out because it helps feed beneficial bacteria that produce compounds directly linked to lower fat storage. We'll get to that specific food in just a moment. But first, understand this principle. If your gut is unhealthy, your metabolism is operating with faulty instructions. Fix the gut, and you often fix the metabolic signals driving fat gain. Not overnight, but systematically. Now let's build on that foundation and talk about the real problem. Most people today are feeding the wrong bacteria every single day. And this is where modern nutrition quietly sabotages fat loss. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Your gut bacteria survive on what you eat. Different foods feed different microbial populations. So when your diet is high in refined carbohydrates, sugar, ultra-processed foods, and low in natural fiber, you are selectively feeding bacteria that are designed for energy extraction and fat storage. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine two groups of workers inside your metabolic factory. One group is efficient, balanced, and focused on long-term performance. They burn fuel cleanly and keep inflammation low. The other group is chaotic, reactive, and focused on storing as much as possible. They trigger cravings, increase inflammation, and slow down fat burning. Every meal you eat is like casting a vote for which group gets stronger. Now here's the problem. Modern diets overwhelmingly feed the second group. Low-fiber diets starve beneficial bacteria. High-sugar intake feeds opportunistic microbes that thrive on quick energy. And frequent snacking, especially processed snacks, keeps this imbalance going all day long. Over time, this leads to something called dysbiosis and imbalance in gut bacteria. And dysbiosis changes your metabolism in very predictable ways. Increased hunger and cravings, reduced satiety signals, higher blood sugar spikes, greater fat storage after meals. Slower metabolic flexibility. Why? Because these harmful bacteria produce metabolites that promote inflammation and disrupt hormonal signaling. They can even influence your brain, increasing cravings for the exact foods that feed them. So it becomes a cycle. You crave sugar, feed harmful bacteria, increase inflammation, worsen insulin resistance, store more fat, crave more sugar. This is not a lack of discipline. This is a biological feedback loop. What the research shows is that individuals with obesity often have a very different microbial composition compared to lean individuals, including a higher ratio of bacteria that extract more calories from the same food. Meaning, two people can eat the same meal, and one stores more fat simply because of their gut bacteria. Now here's the turning point. If the wrong foods can create this imbalance, then the right foods can reverse it. And this is where traditional Japanese nutrition offers a powerful advantage, because Atosis happens. Certain foods don't just provide calories, they act as microbiome modulators. They selectively feed beneficial bacteria. They produce compounds that reduce inflammation. And they help restore metabolic balance from the inside out. Now let's talk about the food itself, the one that quietly does all of this work inside your body. That food is natto. At first glance, it doesn't look like anything special. It's simply fermented soybeans, sticky, strong-smelling, and traditionally eaten in Japan, often for breakfast. But metabolically, this is one of the most powerful gut-supporting foods you can consume. Here's what's really going on inside your body when you eat natto. During fermentation, soybeans are inoculated with a specific bacterium called Bacillus subtilis. This process transforms the beans into a living food rich in enzymes, probiotics, and bioactive compounds. Think of it like this. Regular food gives your body nutrients. Fermented food gives your body instructions. And natto is loaded with the kind of instructions your metabolism desperately needs. First, it acts as a probiotic, introducing beneficial bacteria directly into your gut. Second, it acts as a prebiotic, feeding the good bacteria already living there. This combination is rare and powerful. Now here's where it directly impacts fat storage. When beneficial bacteria ferment fibers and compounds in foods like natto, they produce something called short-chain fatty acids, especially butyrate. These compounds are metabolic messengers. They travel through your bloodstream and signal your body to improve insulin sensitivity, reduce inflammation, strengthen the gut lining, increase fat oxidation. Let me explain this simply. Short-chain fatty acids are like a green light signal that tells your metabolism. We're in a safe, well-fed, low-stress environment. You can burn stored fat. And that directly opposes the store fat signal driven by high insulin and inflammation. What the research shows is that higher levels of these compounds are associated with lower body fat, better glucose control, reduced visceral fat, improved metabolic flexibility, and natto helps increase these compounds naturally. But there's another unique advantage. Natto is rich in an enzyme called nattokinase, along with vitamin K2. These compounds support circulation, cardiovascular health, and even reduce low-grade inflammation, which further improves insulin sensitivity. So now you're attacking the problem from multiple angles. Better gut bacteria, lower inflammation, improved insulin signaling, enhanced fat-burning environment. This is not a fat-burning food in the gimmicky sense. This is a metabolic regulator. Now here's the key. It's not just what you eat, it's when you eat it. Because timing this correctly, especially in the morning, can amplify these effects dramatically. And if this is opening your eyes to how powerful simple, traditional foods can be, consider. We break down these kinds of strategies every day so you can apply them in real life. Now let's talk about timing, because this is where most people lose the benefit. You can eat the right food, but at the wrong time, and completely miss its metabolic impact. So why is the morning the most powerful time to eat natto? Here's what's really going on inside your body. Your metabolism follows a circadian rhythm, an internal 24-hour clock that controls hormones, digestion, insulin, sensitivity, and energy use. And in the morning, your body is naturally more insulin sensitive. That means when you eat, your body is more efficient at handling glucose, less likely to store fat, and more likely to use nutrients for energy and repair. Now combine that with what natto does. You're introducing beneficial bacteria right when your system is most responsive. You're feeding those bacteria at the exact time your gut is primed to process nutrients efficiently. And you're generating short-chain fatty acids early in the day, setting the metabolic tone for everything that follows. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Think of your morning routine as setting the thermostat for your metabolism. If you start the day with sugar, refined carbs, or processed foods, you spike insulin early, and your body stays in storage mode for hours. But if you start the day with something like natto, you stabilize blood sugar, you reduce inflammation signals, and you activate pathways that favor fat burning instead of fat storage. That effect doesn't just last for breakfast. It carries into lunch, dinner, and even overnight metabolism. What the research shows is that people who align their eating patterns with circadian biology, eating earlier in the day, tend to have better insulin sensitivity, lower body fat levels, improved metabolic health, and when you combine timing plus microbiome support, the effect becomes even stronger. Now let's make this practical. Here's a simple protocol you can follow. Start your morning with 1 small serving of natto, about 40 to 50 grams, pair it with protein like eggs. To stabilize blood sugar, add fiber like vegetables or avocado. To enhance gut benefits, optional additions. Green tea for antioxidants, a pinch of sea salt for mineral balance, and most importantly, avoid pairing it with sugar-heavy foods in the morning, because sugar will blunt the insulin benefits you're trying to create. Consistency matters here. You don't need perfection, but you do need repetition. Because over time, this routine helps retrain your gut bacteria, stabilize your hormones, and shift your metabolism toward fat burning. Now let's go one layer deeper into the actual biochemical signals that determine whether your body stores fat or burns it, because this is where everything starts to connect. We mentioned earlier that foods like natto help your gut bacteria produce short-chain fatty acids. But what exactly do these compounds do? Here's what's really going on inside your body. When beneficial bacteria ferment fibers and bioactive compounds, they produce 3 primary short-chain fatty acids. Butyrate, acetate, propionate, think of these as metabolic messengers. They don't just stay in your gut, they communicate with your liver, your brain, your fat cells, and even your hormones. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine your metabolism as a large control panel with switches. Some switches turn fat, storage on, others turn fat burning on. Short-chain fatty acids help flick the right switches. For example, butyrate improves the health of your gut lining, reducing what's called metabolic endotoxemia, a condition where toxins leak into the bloodstream and trigger inflammation. Less inflammation equals better insulin sensitivity. And as we've said before, when insulin sensitivity improves, your body is more willing to burn stored fat. Propionate plays a role in appetite regulation. It signals your brain that you're full, reducing overeating and stabilizing hunger hormones like ghrelin. Acetate can even influence how your body uses fat as fuel, supporting energy balance. Now here's the powerful connection. These compounds also activate something called AMPK, often referred to as the metabolic master switch. When AMPK is activated, your body shifts into a state that favors fat burning, energy production, reduced fat storage, improved mitochondrial function. This is the same pathway activated during exercise and fasting. So in a sense, by improving your gut environment, you're mimicking some of the benefits of those powerful metabolic states. What the research shows is that individuals with higher levels of short-chain fatty acids tend to have lower visceral fat, better blood sugar control, reduced inflammation markers, improved metabolic flexibility, and this is not about extreme dieting. This is about creating the internal conditions where fat loss becomes easier and more natural. Now, here's the key takeaway. You are not just feeding yourself. You are feeding an entire ecosystem that determines your metabolic future. And when you consistently provide the right inputs like natto, you gradually shift that ecosystem in your favor. If this is helping you see fat loss in a completely different way, consider subscribing. I share these deeper, science-backed strategies every day so you can take control of your health at the root level. Now let's bring this into real life, because understanding the science is powerful, but execution is what changes your body. And here's the truth. Most people fail not because they don't know what to eat, but because they don't know how to apply it consistently in a way their body can adapt to. So let's build a simple, repeatable system using natto that actually works. Here's what this looks like in practice. Start with a minimum effective dose. You don't need large quantities. about 40 to 50 grams per day, enough to begin influencing your gut microbiome. Consistency matters far more than quantity. Now, if you've never had natto before, let me be honest, the taste and texture can be challenging at first. It's sticky, it's strong, it's unfamiliar, so instead of forcing large amounts, ease into it. Start with 1 to 2 teaspoons mixed into other foods, pair it with eggs, rice alternatives, or vegetables, add mustard, soy sauce, or green onions to improve taste. This reduces resistance, which increases consistency, because the real benefit comes from repetition over time. Now let's talk about a simple morning protocol you can follow. Within the first 1 to 2 hours after waking, eat natto as your first or second food. Combine it with protein, eggs, fish, or tofu. Include healthy fats, olive oil, avocado, add fiber, vegetables, fermented sides, or seeds. Why this combination? Because you're stacking metabolic advantages. Protein stabilizes blood sugar, fat slows digestion, and improves satiety. Fiber feeds gut bacteria further. This creates a low insulin, high nutrient environment ideal for fat burning. Now let's layer in lifestyle, because your gut doesn't just respond to food, it responds to your daily rhythm. To maximize results, avoid late night eating. It disrupts microbiome cycles. Try a 12 to 14 hour overnight fast. If appropriate, get morning sunlight. This reinforces circadian alignment. Manage stress. High cortisol damages gut balance. Remember, cortisol and gut health are deeply connected. Chronic stress feeds the wrong bacteria and increases inflammation. So even if your diet is perfect, unmanaged stress can slow your progress. Now here's something important. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be predictable, because your gut bacteria thrive on consistency. When you give them the same beneficial inputs daily, they grow stronger. And as they grow stronger, your metabolism becomes more efficient. Cravings decrease. Energy stabilizes. Fat loss becomes less of a struggle. This is how you shift from forcing results to creating the conditions for results. Let's bring everything together clearly, because the goal here is not just information, but transformation in how you think about fat loss and metabolism. We started with a simple question. Why do some people struggle with stubborn fat gain even when they eat healthy? And the answer takes us much deeper than calories. It takes us into your gut microbiome, your hormones, and your metabolic signaling system. Here's what we now understand. Your gut bacteria are not passive. They actively influence insulin, inflammation, hunger, and fat storage. When the gut is imbalanced, your body shifts into a protective state, storing energy, increasing cravings, and slowing fat burning. But when you introduce the right inputs like natto, you begin changing that internal environment. You support beneficial bacteria. You increase short-chain fatty acid production. You reduce inflammation. And you improve insulin sensitivity. And all of this creates one central outcome. Your body becomes more willing to burn fat instead of store it. But here's the key point most people miss. This is not a hack. This is metabolic remodeling. And it happens through repetition, not intensity. When you consistently eat foods that support your microbiome, especially in the morning when your metabolism is most responsive, you begin to reprogram your internal biology. Energy stabilizes, digestion improves, cravings reduce, and fat loss becomes more natural, not forced. Now, I want you to take this away. You don't need extreme diets to fix your metabolism. You need aligned signals that your body can trust. Food is one of those signals. Timing is another. And consistency is what locks it in. So here's your simple challenge. Try just one change today. Start your morning with a gut-supportive food like natto and observe how your energy, hunger, and digestion respond. For the next week. Not perfectly, just consistently. Because your body is always responding. The question is whether you're giving it signals that build health or signals that create resistance. If this added value and helped you understand your metabolism in a deeper way, like the video and subscribe to join others who are rebuilding their health, naturally, one system at a time.